All right, good morning. I'm Debbie Hancock, and I'm the Director of Radiology at Gritman Medical Center. I am so excited to welcome you to the 22nd Gritman Foundation Pink Tea. I'll be serving as your MC for today's event. Our team at Gritman Medical Center and the Gritman Foundation would not be able to do the foundational work we do without the support of the wonderful people in this room. Thank you so much for being here. The reason we are here today is to support our friends and neighbors. Cancer remains the leading cause of death in Latah County, and it is our goal to do everything we can to support vital programs so we can reduce and eliminate instances of cancer in our community. We're fortunate to have oncology, infusion, pharmacy, and women's imaging services here in Moscow so patients don't have to travel for their care. Providing exceptional care that's close to home is what this organization is all about. I believe we have representatives from these teams in attendance. Would you please stand and let us recognize you for the day in, day out dedication you provide. Really quick, I'm going off script for just a second. Sorry, Brad. Last night I was practicing and for my 9-year-old boy, and he's like, "Mom, I think you should sing." Old buddy, so I started singing for him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, don't do that." So, sorry, just so you, I am not a singer, so sorry. I can barely read some days, so, okay, on with the program. All right, today we also want to educate about the services available to anyone in the region who may be battling a cancer diagnosis. I know we have cancer survivors here with us today, and those who may be battling a cancer diagnosis as we speak. Please know that you have the support of your friends and family in this community, including every one of us in the room. We are eager to share stories of resilience and survival from 2 local women who have recently gone through cancer treatment. Please join me in thanking today's speakers for their bravery in sharing their stories with us. Your support is what this event is all about. This event started with 35 people in 2002 as a way to bring awareness for screening mammograms in Idaho. Funds raised from that time have gone to many Gritman programs. Bosom Buddies, which helps pays for screening mammograms for residents of Latah County. The Light a Candle program, designed to ease the burden of costs associated with cancer care through gas and grocery gift cards, massages, and other direct financial assistance. And the Cancer Care Fund, which supports both the Light a Candle and Bosom Buddies, as well as the purchase and updating of much-needed equipment to support our cancer care services. Taken together, your support makes it easier for our friends to fill their gas tanks, to stock their refrigerators, to offset the cost of a 3D mammogram. This funding has helped Gritman purchase equipment and create spaces like our wig rooms, so many patients have the resources they need right here in our community. The Pink Tea and Pink Cocktail events may have expanded beyond their original mission to help fund all cancer care on the Palouse, but the overarching objective still remains: to support our friends and neighbors as we detect, fight, and survive cancer. Through today's event, we hope to raise at least $75,000 toward cancer care services in our region. With your generous support, I know we can reach that goal. Thanks to the support of our friends who couldn't be here today, as well as the registrations and donations from everyone in this room, we have already raised more than $21,000 toward our goal. All that money, 100%, is directed back towards these important programs through the Gritman Foundation. Included in those generous donors are our corporate sponsors, who I would like to recognize now. Thank you to Appearances, Marketing, and Promotions. Avista. Admiral Beverage, Pepsi. Bennett Lumber Products. DK Mullen Architects. Idaho Central Credit Union. Inland North Waste. Kevin J. Orozco Insurance Agency. Moscow Medical. Palouse Specialty Physicians. P1 FCU. Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. And Umpqua Bank. Thank you for your generous support towards our fundraising goal. We're also thankful for our in-kind corporate sponsors, Inland Northwest Broadcasting, for their help in spreading the word about this event in our community. We have a few future leaders of our community who I would like to now recognize. Each year, the high school volleyball teams in Latah County host fundraising matches with all proceeds going back to Gritman's Light a Candle program. These annual Spike for a Cure games are a lot of fun and provide much needed support to Gritman Foundation patients. Thank you to the volleyball teams from Troy, Potlatch, Moscow, and Genesee for raising more than $3,000 this year to support these programs. Events like today show us how difficult a cancer diagnosis can be. Thankfully, we have the resources here on the Palouse, so more patients can stay close to home for their healing and recovery. That's where we'd like to start today by learning more about the services offered through cancer care in our community. To start things off, I'd like to welcome Kara Best, Gritman's president and CEO, to talk about some of the services available through our partnerships. Kara, by the way, is celebrating her 30th year with Gritman Medical Center. Please join me in welcoming Kara Best.
Debbie, I think you got that number wrong. I'm only 34.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
No, I have been at Gritman for 30 years. It's been a great journey, and I really appreciate the support of our community and want to thank all of you for joining us for the pink tea this morning. This has been an event now for 22 years in our community, so I was with it when we first started this, and very excited to be here again today. To talk a little bit about the services we have, as we talk about the pink tea is really about supporting our patients and families battling cancer. Over the past 2 decades, your generous giving has raised over $1 million towards providing much needed cancer care services in our region. $1 million, so that's amazing. One of the cancer services, our Light a Candle program, directly supports more than 100 local families with gas and grocery gift cards, massages, and other financial assistance helping during such a difficult time. This program is further supported by generous friends and neighbors who understand the program's value and go above and beyond to raise additional funds for these families. One of these generous supporters is Heidi Heath. Hi, Heidi. Heidi and a dedicated group of community members hold a tournament at the Moscow Elks Golf Course each summer with all proceeds going back to the Light a Candle program. We would like to recognize the hard work Heidi Heath, Mary Nelson, Annette Smith, Joe Linden, Sandra Hickley, and Dana Hull, in this, who organized this event. So will you please stand? The Light a Candle Scramble has been a summer event for many years. This program event raised nearly $10,000 to support the Light a Candle program. Since 2018, the tournament has raised nearly $45,000. So thank you for organizing this event and all your contributions. I also want to recognize our partnership with Palouse Oncology in caring for cancer patients in the region. Because of the services Palouse Oncology provides in Moscow, patients are able to stay in the Palouse for their treatment. I want to express how proud I am of this team and everything they've done to care for the men and women who are facing cancer diagnosis. Led by Dr. Raj, his team is knowledgeable and compassionate. Not only do they provide high-quality health care, they also go out of their way to make their patients smile. For example, earlier this fall, the entire staff wore Hawaiian shirts to celebrate the completion of a patient's oncology treatment. It's those little acts of kindness that make our patients feel more comfortable during such an incredibly difficult time. Dr. Raj and his entire team are here right now at this table. So will you please stand? So Palouse Oncology is a part of Palouse Specialty Physicians. This is a joint venture between Gritman Medical Center, Pullman Regional Hospital, and Whitman Hospital and Medical Group. It is through that partnership that we were able to treat patients here in Moscow, keeping our friends and loved ones close during their healing and recovery. Dr. Raj and everyone at Palouse Oncology, your unwavering dedication makes an incredible difference in our patients' lives. A few weeks ago, Palouse Oncology team led us into their space. We want to give you all a behind-the-scenes look at the team that provides such compassionate care. I am happy to share that with you now, so enjoy this inside look at Palouse Oncology team, and thank you again for attending the Pink Tea.
It's a great time to be in oncology because of the cutting-edge technology and how much we've been able to provide to patients and keep them alive much longer. We see a wide variety of cancers like breast, colon, prostate, lung, bladder. And we also see a lot of other bone marrow cancers such as lymphomas and leukemias, especially this area has been heavy in multiple myeloma, and we serve a lot of people here. When we get a referral, our goal is to be able to see them within 48 to 72 hours because time is of the essence. Depending upon their diagnosis, then we decide whether they're going to need infusion, whether they're going to need surgery first, whether they're going to need other services in addition to whatever they need at present, and then go from there. Cancer is a disease that doesn't see any kind of race, color, socioeconomic strata. It takes it apart at so many different levels. It doesn't discriminate. This disease does not discriminate. So why don't we put our efforts together to be able to at least provide the resources that we can, or help people that we can that are ravaged, or help families that are ravaged by this disease in any shape or form. I also believed I can definitely provide the best experiences possible that they can go through when they're going through their treatment. My team and my extended team, right from the front desk to everybody, my medical assistant, my nurses, our office manager, you name it. Everybody plays such an important role in providing a service to patients that come in that I think we're all part of one wheel, and we're all cogs in that wheel. Any diagnosis, especially a cancer diagnosis, takes away from a lot of your day-to-day normalcy, takes away from your ability to work, it takes away from your ability to provide an income to your family, it takes away your ability to put food on the table sometimes. When patients talk about how thankful they are that we can provide little resources like how much a gas card means to them to be able to go to the radiation appointments, how much it means for them to be able to pay a bill and not worry about their next payment, how important it is to be able to celebrate a holiday and be able to provide for their family when they don't have the resources to do so while they're going through treatment is just amazing. There are so many different programs that are very close to our heart because all of these programs that Gritman has to offer, like Light a Candle, Bosom Buddies, they help with providing financial assistance to our patients that need the financial assistance, whether it's dietary financial assistance, whether it's getting them nutritional supplementation, whether it's getting them gas cards, whether it's getting them to be able to pay a bill. Having those services here and being able to support those services in any way possible is definitely a help for each and every one of these patients and for our efforts to be able to provide those services. So the bell is actually a culmination of treatment. So somebody that's going through therapy and it's curative therapy, we celebrate their culmination of their treatment by this victorious ringing of the bell and ringing out the old and bringing in the new. It is a very joyous occasion. For some people, it's also celebratory because they've had a rough year. They've had multiple things that have happened to them in that rough year, and so it's just a way of like letting go and saying, okay, I'm done with this chapter of my life and it's time to move on. You know, it takes a village. Everybody plays a role. No one's too small. No dollar amount is too little. Any means of assistance is a way to help.
Thank you, Dr. Raj, for sharing your message with us and allowing us a glimpse into your office and to your team. You and your team's dedication to our patients does not go unnoticed. It is now my honor to introduce Kathy Clark to the stage. Kathy lives in Colfax and is in the middle of her own cancer fight. A current patient of Palouse Oncology, Kathy is close to finishing radiation. Her story is a reminder of how every moment and gesture can have a profound impact. Let's welcome Kathy Clark to the stage. I need my glasses.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. I have been on this journey for the past year and a half. It started the end of July of 2023 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then about 3 months later, I found out I had a second cancer. Just hearing the news of breast cancer was quite a jolt. But then to have another cancer was really like being on a roller coaster. I started with surgeons, oncologists, nurses, and nurse navigators. And by the way, I'd never heard of a nurse navigator, but thank God for them, because what they did for me was put everything in order. Because by this time, my head is spinning and I'm not able to put everything together. So they helped me schedule appointments and they kept me on track with everything. So on January 21st of this year, I underwent surgery to remove my lump and I had a complete hysterectomy. All this in the same day. My daughters were there and stayed with me for a week. It was a wonderful week and I was very fortunate to have them there for the first week after surgery. But then it was just me. I started chemotherapy and was so happy I was able to go to Palouse Oncology and meet Dr. Raj. He explained everything to me, not that I understood it and even remembered part of it, but we started the road of chemo together. His understanding and compassion about what I was going through lifted me in so many ways. The staff there were also wonderful. The nurses and all the staff greeted you with a warm smile and even a hug. But by this time, when I was starting all of this, I was beginning to worry about finances. I live on a fixed income, and there were so many little things that started to pop up. Gas for traveling and fatigue had also started from chemo. Bills were beginning to pile up. This is when I was introduced to Angel, who helped me navigate the little things that can become big things. Light a Candle was one of the programs. And as you've been told, it can help you with many things: gas expenses, massage therapy, groceries, and many other small things that become a very heavy burden. The funds that are raised here today will go to help others like myself, and believe me, you have no idea how much of a relief it can be. When I started this journey, I made a vow that I would find good in whatever happened. There were good days and bad days, but through it all, I have always been able to find some good. This road I have traveled this last year and a half has been filled with new learning and finding new strengths. I will be done with radiation the end of this week. It will be a party at my house, even if it's only me, my cat, and my dog. Special treats for everyone. I'm a very fortunate person. I have 2 wonderful daughters who were my biggest cheerleaders, and a fantastic group of friends and coworkers who rallied around me. They have all meant so much to me and will always continue to do so. As I stand here before you, I am hoping that I can become an advocate for other cancer patients, and that I can come alongside of them and help to give them strength and knowledge that they too are stronger than they think. In closing, I would like to leave you this quote by Paul S. Boynton. As we step into the unknown, we discover that we can be fragile and strong, and terrified and brave, all at the same time. Thank you for hearing my story.
The end of this week will be a party for sure. We're coming to your house, Kathy. We'll all be there, at least in spirit. Thank you for sharing your message with us. We know your story and journey will help others who are also fighting this terrible disease. The important work of assisting patients with a cancer diagnosis often starts with the images captured during a mammogram or other diagnostic tests. At Gritman, our team of radiologists, led by Dr. Kristen Reisenauer, are the medical staff tasked with reading those images. She is here today to provide an update on the services available at our Women's Imaging Center and what to expect if you do get called back for a mammogram. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kristen Reisenauer, Medical Director of Imaging.
Well, hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for coming today. Go ahead, next slide, please. So most of you are familiar with our Women's Imaging Center, so we're very, very proud of this. But a lot happens on the other side of that waiting room door. And so I kind of wanted to just let you see kind of what goes on after how the mammogram happens and what happens after those images are taken. So next slide. So now many of you may notice I wasn't up here last year, but I had a really good excuse. So this is my excuse. This is Crosby. I was at the birth of my very first grandchild. He is 1 year old. Huge fan of everyone he meets. He's just fantastic. So this is why I wasn't here. Next slide. So screening mammogram. Let's talk about that. Most all of you have had one. This is a routine annual exam for evaluation of asymptomatic breasts. All right? That's really important. It's the gold standard for breast cancer detection still today. So you might hear of other things for imaging breast cancer, for detecting breast cancers. This is still the gold standard for detection. It should be done every year, starting at the age of 40. 35 if you have high risk factors, like you have multiple first-degree relatives, like a mother and sister, or if you are known BRCA positive or other high risk factors, you can start earlier at 35. But we recommend it every year at 40, as does the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. It's not used for lumps or other worrisome findings like an abnormal breast discharge. That we want you to see your doctor for because we have a special type of mammography for. So this is for asymptomatic breasts. And it's still the best thing that you can do to detect breast cancer early. All right, next slide. So how's a screening mammogram done? Well, at Gritman, we actually pioneered 3D mammography in the Inland Northwest. We're really proud of that. We had 3D mammography nearly 2 years before anyone else in the area, including Boise, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, everyone in the area. We were really on the forefront of this technology. And all of our mammograms, all of our screening mammograms here at Gritman are performed by 3D mammography. And they have been from the very beginning, so we're really proud of that, the meaning of the technology. The Women's Imaging Center is a fully ACR and MQSA certified facility, which means we undergo regular accreditation. And so how the screening mammogram is done, and most of you are aware, we take those in 2 projections. So next slide. And this is the equipment that we do, whether we take the mammogram on. This is a Hologic top-of-the-line 3D imaging system. And next slide, and the images it generates is this. So you can see you have 2 views of each breast. You have the right breast, left breast, side to side, and then right breast, left breast, top to bottom. And that's what we're looking at as radiologists once we get that mammogram, okay? So what happens to that data, that images once they're taken? This is where really all that happens. So the images are then sent through a second look computer analysis that flags areas that the computer sees in the images that says, I think the radiologist might want to look at this a little closer. The images are then sent to a dedicated high-resolution read station for the radiologist's interpretation. It's a special read station that, through that computing power, is able to generate that 3D model of the breast that makes 3D mammography so powerful, all right? Does all the post-processing. And then the images are interpreted by the radiologist on that special workstation throughout the day. And the final results are sent to your doctor, and usually we read those the very same day. I think you might notice that, but the turnaround time is really quick on these. We do that for a reason, and we know it's important. So next slide. So, and there's that dedicated workstation, the lovely radiologist that might be reading your exams. So you can see it's a little bit special in that it's a little different than our regular routine workstation. This to the left. The one to the right is that dedicated 3D workstation. Next slide. So what happens once we read that exam? Well, we generate a report, all right? And that report is generated by voice recognition transcription program. So it's immediately uploaded into your medical record, which means it's immediately available to your doctor, and it's immediately available to you via your MyChart patient portal. So most of the time, by the time you get home, or later on that evening for sure, you're gonna have a report on your portal if you wanna look it up. So that's kind of cool. So, and then a secondary explanation letter is then generated and sent to you via US mail, all right? And that notifies you your results and if there's any request for follow-up. So next slide. Here's an example of that letter here, okay? So it really has 3 main informational items, okay? The first is the results of your exam, of course. So if it's negative or if we need additional follow-up imaging. A statement of your breast density, and that's something that's new that's required that now all facilities include in this letter. And that just says, do you have very dense breasts? Meaning that you have a lot more fibroglandular tissue that might make it a little bit more difficult to detect breast cancer, or do you have less dense breasts? That's just a statement of that so you know that as a background. And then we give you instructions as to follow up. Most of the time it's gonna be follow up in 1 year. We didn't see anything wrong. but sometimes you're going to get the dreaded additional information or additional imaging requested letter. Okay, so let's talk about that just a little bit. So what does it mean if you get that additional imaging or additional information requested letter, come on back letter? So first of all, take a deep breath. It doesn't mean we found breast cancer, all right? It does mean in any way that the original mammogram was faulty. Doesn't mean that we didn't get enough information, nothing like that. All it means is that we saw something as radiologists on your mammogram that said, I want to look at that a little closer, all right? That's all that means. Because our breasts change throughout the year, throughout our lives, as we all know. Our breasts change, and that change is something that sometimes can cause us to go, is that change something I really want to worry about or not? And that's why we call you back, okay? So only about 10% of screening mammograms are going to call back too. So it's not very common, but it's not a rare event either. So don't be alarmed if that happens to you. All right, next slide. So first of all, it can be scary, all right? You got called back. It's like, oh, did they find breast cancer, all right? So again, take a deep breath. Doesn't mean we found breast cancer. It just means that we want to look at it a little closer. And 85% of the time, what this means is that we're going to, with that additional imaging, we're going to find out exactly what we need, and we're going to say, we just do a follow-up in 1 year. So more than 85% of the time, we're going to be conclusive and say follow-up in 1 year, all right? If we do find something that we need to evaluate further, either by additional imaging or by biopsy, 99% of the time we can do that locally, and that's really important. So we know we're going to get the care right here locally. All right, next slide. So what additional imaging might be needed? So when you do get that letter, what to expect when you come back? Well, you're either going to be asked to come back and have an additional mammogram done, a very special mammogram, or an ultrasound, most likely. Okay? So next slide. So, and I did want to say on that, if we do call you back and you get the letter, immediately we're going to be working with your provider to make sure that we get you in as soon as possible, because we know that that's a scary situation. We want to get you back in, and usually it's within that week. So we're actually working behind the scenes immediately when that letter goes out, okay? So a focused mammogram, well, basically, when we're looking at a screening mammogram, we're looking at the entire breast. So focused mammograms allows us to focus on one particular area of the mammogram and help us determine whether what we're seeing, whether it's a mass, what it might look like, whether it's calcifications. Can we look at those a little bit better? All right, the next slide. So we're all familiar with the regular paddle on the side. That's for the screening mammogram. And you can see it's a large paddle, and it covers the whole breast. The ones on the right there, those are special focus paddles. You can see they're much smaller, and they're focused to look at a very specific area of the breast. And this is what happens when we take that image with those focus paddles. Next slide. Well, this is our ultrasound room. So if we called you back for an ultrasound, this is with the ultrasound room. This is where we do that. But the next slide shows a picture of the focused mammogram. So you can see on the left is a regular screening mammogram. And I don't know if you can see, but they're very difficult to see. Up in the upper part of the breast there's a group of little calcifications that we would have picked up on the screening mammogram, that dedicated workstation. And we would have said, I can't see those very well. I want to examine them a little closer. And so you can see on the right side, that's that special paddle, and you're getting a very focused view of the breast. You can see up there in the upper part of the breast there's that little line of white, looks like grains of salt. Now I could see those much better, don't you agree? And I could characterize those calcifications and say, is that something that I want to biopsy, or do they not look really all that suspicious at all? So next slide. If we did call you back for an ultrasound, we do that, and the power of ultrasound is it allows us to determine whether a mass might be solid or just a cyst. And so you can see on the far left, that's a solid mass, but it's nice and round and regular. It's been there for a while. We don't really think that that's worrisome. In the middle, and you can see that blackness, that's a cyst. That's what a cyst looks like on ultrasound. Those are not cancer. They don't turn into cancer. We don't worry about those, but they can look like a mass on a mammogram, and so the ultrasound determines whether it's a cyst or not. And then on the far right is a more worrisome mass that we might determine whether we want to do a biopsy of or something like that. And the ultrasound would allow us to get that biopsy. So that's why we do an ultrasound. Next slide. So here's our promise to you if you do get called back with that dreaded letter. Well, first of all, once we do the additional images, we're going to discuss with you those images. We're going to discuss with you why we brought you back. We're going to carefully explain the results of your exam to you, results of that, not only your screening mammogram, but the additional imaging that we did. We're going to review the images with you, if it's appropriate, and we're going to give you recommendations for follow-up. You're going to see a radiologist that day. We are not going to let you leave the Women's Imaging Center before you get the results of that follow-up exam, because it's scary, and we don't want you going home without knowing absolutely what's wrong. And if we did find something wrong, we're going to provide a really clear path for you for any additional tests or biopsies that you might need. So I hope that this was helpful for you to give you sort of that behind-the-scenes peek and make it that dreaded, we want you to come back letter a little less scary if it happens. All right? Thank you.
When I had the opportunity to become First Lady, actually Jackie Batt had started doing some work with breast cancer, and it was very much a part of what was in the conversation at that time. So they had started some luncheons and things like that. Part of it was continuing some of the work she had started. And then when we started developing it and we started calling around, I know we did at least 7 the first year, and we would go drive around the state and put together a pink tea, and they all looked a little bit different, but it was really about the community coming together, recognizing both prevention mammographies and the importance of that. That's where it started. We came up here, I remember, there was about 35 people. It was Gritman, it was the American Cancer Society, and we started talking about what we wanted to do, and we just sort of planned it. It was a wonderful community thing, and it was great fun. And then it grew, and it grew, and it grew. When we left office, the ones that kept calling back, or the only one that kept calling back was Gritman. And they kept inviting me back. And I really, it's very special for me, partly because I went to the University of Idaho. My husband and I both graduated from here. He was an orderly at Gritman when he was in college. And just the team that they put together here and their commitment that they made it something very special. I just think it's wonderful what the community did to make it work. They really made it a community event. Having what's here in Moscow, what Gritman has, and what Gritman is building is so important to the whole Northwest, the Palouse area. I think one of the things that the effort around breast cancer has done is made other cancers even more visible too, because I worked for the American Cancer Society right out of college. And I know when I would walk into a room and I'd say I'm with the American Cancer Society, people would physically step back as if they could get it, because there's a lot of fear around that. What the effort around breast cancer prevention has done, again, is really open up the idea about cancer and understanding it and getting the help we need as soon as we can. Because we do talk about it, and we talk about when it's good and when it works and the treatment, but we talk about how we can be in it together and help each other. Get your mammogram. I say get your mammogram. Keep going. In fact, I asked when I went for mine today, how long do I have to keep doing this? She said, forever. Okay, because forever means good. That's forever. But it's also, once they do that, especially with the 3D, they can tell what is the next step. Should we do more? Yes, do whatever you can. Find out the information. And we have advanced so far. There's a huge percentage of breast cancer that can be stopped if we get it early enough. And we need to do everything we can in the beginning as early as we can.
Thank you, Patricia, for everything you have done to support cancer care services in our region and our nation. We're so grateful for your continued dedication to this important cause. Our next guest, Sharon White, is a cancer survivor with an important message for all of us. A resident of Palouse and retired Washington State University employee, Sharon will share reflections about her time with cancer, the profound impact it had on her life, and how movement and visualization kept her going. Let's welcome Sharon White to the stage.
I'm a little nervous, just so you know. Okay. Hi. My name is Sharon White, and I'm here today to talk to you about my life with breast cancer. Let me tell you a little bit about my history. I retired from WSU in the fall of 2020. I was a marketing director for major events for the university. I would work on events like convocation and commencement, but also events like this one. I worked behind the scenes. But before that, I held jobs as a graphic designer, a design manager, an art director. I was a lucky person. I was just into my second year as the events director when COVID hit. For anyone working in events at that time, it changed everything about your job. I had just turned 66, and I decided it was time to retire. In March of 2023, I had my yearly mammogram. Nothing unusual for me to do. I always kept up with my mammograms. Keep up, not kept, keep. At the same time, I was having unusual things going on with my body. I didn't call them symptoms at the time because I didn't know what they were. My left neck hurt, my ear hurt and itched, my underarm hurt. My left breast was a little bigger. I had been involved in sports for a long time, so I just brushed off my unusual things, which I now know are symptoms, and considered them to be the price you pay for being athletic, old injuries. Sometimes you can be your worst enemy. I also didn't want to sound like a hypochondriac with my doctor, so I didn't really talk about it much. Big mistake on my part. A few days later, after my mammogram, I got a call back to get more testing on an abnormal reading on my mammogram. I got another scan and then a biopsy. I'm not going to get all these medical terms correct, so please forgive me. It was discovered I had 2 lesions/tumors in my left breast and a lesion tumor in a lymph node in my left armpit. Cancer. It is definitely a word no one wants to hear. It's a really bad word. From the minute I was diagnosed, the wheels in my head started spinning in all sorts of directions. I had so much information coming at me, it was all happening so fast. But then also, it wasn't happening fast enough. Everything in my life, my plans, had changed instantly because of that really bad word, cancer. I have learned so much in the last year about cancer, so much that I never imagined I would ever need to learn. I am taking an educated guess that all of you in this room have been affected by breast cancer or cancer in some way or another, as a cancer survivor, a person going through treatments, a caregiver, a friend, family, a medical professional. God bless you. And I mean that in all sincerity. Now that I know more, I understand how hard it is to be a part of cancer. Whatever part of it makes you connected to it, cancer is hard. And without all the support you give, all of you, and the love you share, it would be much harder. Everybody okay? Okay. Whew. I had so many people helping me with my fight with cancer in so many different ways. A meal, a card, prayers, a blanket, a hug, a kind word, a visit, flowers, a walk, family, friends, God. It all helped me move forward. I remember the first meeting with my surgeon and her team. They told Mike, my husband, and I this was going to be a fight and to take it on as if it were a full-time job. They said, "You are an active person. Use that to your advantage. Keep in motion. Keep moving." So that is what I did. Every day I would move. The process. Chemotherapy is rough. You probably already know that already. I had 5 months of treatments. The first 2 months were every 2 weeks of the strong stuff, very technical. Then every week for the 3 months following, I walked a lot. I biked. I hiked. I went to the gym. I worked out with weights and cardio machines. When the dizziness got too much for on-the-road biking, I used a stationary bike. I just added a little more walking. When the dizziness started creeping into my walks, I started using support sticks. When I had trouble making it up hills because of fatigue, I walked them backwards. I only walked a half mile some days. I was determined to keep movement a part of my everyday. I did yoga daily. If you can't walk and you can't bike, do yoga or even do some gentle stretching and breathing. Little moves went a long way for me then. When I had spent more time sitting than I wanted to, I sat outside or I drew. Sometimes I did both at the same time. When my daughter was visiting, she would plan a field trip for us out into the woods. She would set us up with chairs and our pencils and paper, and we would draw together out there in the woods. I love her. I did what I could not to focus on what was happening to me. I worked on projects that kept my mind and hands busy. I talked to God. When I was at Palouse Oncology getting my chemo infusions, I would visualize an army of Pac-Men, you know, minions, chomping away at the tumors. Even when I was tethered to my port, getting my infusion, I would visualize movement. Even when I drew, I was moving my hand and my arm. I live in Palouse, and I'm very fortunate to live about a mile out of town. I have a wonderful view of the Palouse River and Kamiak Butte. I spent a lot of time that summer of chemo sitting on my deck, looking out towards the Palouse and my garden. I worked in my garden a little bit too. Actually, I worked in my garden a lot. Before chemo started, my daughter Taylor gave me a grab bag that was filled with quotes, words of encouragement, upbeat sayings, her drawings, poetry, a rubbing stone. She would bring new ones every so often to replenish my stash. One day, while sitting on my deck with a blanket on, even though it was 90 degrees, I was feeling particularly vulnerable, so I randomly pulled out one of the pieces of paper. Please allow me to read it to you. This is an excerpt from the poem Sunrise by Louise Gulk, American poet and essayist. And if you missed a day, there was always the rest. And if you missed a year, it didn't matter. The hills weren't going anywhere. The thyme and rosemary kept coming back. The sun kept rising. The bushes kept bearing fruit. Next was surgery. I had a unilateral mastectomy of my left breast and removal of 13, I believe, lymph nodes under my left arm, performed by Dr. Moline, a surgeon from Cancer Care Northwest in Spokane. I also had a lymphovenous anastomosis immediately following my mastectomy. It was performed by Dr. Sousa, a surgeon at Plastic Surgery Northwest in Spokane. She attached some of the vessels, I believe it was 3, from the lymph nodes that were removed to a main lymph vessel, microscopic work. Oh, and I had my port out. Yay. Mike and Taylor were with me all the way. They gave me strength. They gave me love. They took care of me. Everybody all right? Okay. The things I remember about surgery that day, a lot of people checking things, stopping by, very kind people, very busy place. When I was being wheeled into the operating room, Dr. Moline came to say hello before I went under. She must have seen anxiety or fear in my eyes. She said, "Here we go." And she put her hand on mine and held it. I won't forget that. Then I woke up in the recovery room. Phew. I think it's time for another quote from my daughter's grab bag. This is from Brene Brown, American academic, author, speaker. Faith is a place of mystery where we can find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear, our uncertainty. 6 weeks later, I began 30 days of radiation, 5 days a week. Not too bad. I didn't get too tired. I was going down to Lewiston. I drove myself most of that time. It made me feel stronger. I had started back to swimming because my port scar was healed. But I had to stop after a couple weeks as my skin was burnt and the chlorine hurt. Back to walking. I couldn't move while under the radiation machine. So what I did was to keep moving was I visualized superheroes with ray guns smashing cancer cells to smithereens. Cancer sucks. That was another random pull from my daughter's grab bag. But boy, do I agree with it. The takeaways that I would like to pass on to others that I have learned through having and fighting cancer. Be kind to yourself. Be patient. Be kind to others and also patient. Healing takes time. Find a focus. Own something and stick to it. Embrace it. It might be writing a book. It might be learning a musical instrument. Maybe it would be making ornaments for Christmas. Something that can give your mind a place to find respite during the fight. Anything that would help you move forward to help you get through it. Also, if someone wants to help you, please let them. Family, friends, strangers. It will help you stay strong. And when you can pass that kindness on to others, you'll be glad you did. I believe in God, and I feel comfort in that faith during the times when nothing else can. In closing, I really want to thank Palouse Oncology, Dr. Rai, Jonathan, and Dr. Raj. Everyone I met, actually, I mean everyone, helped me through this. Your compassion is amazing. It takes a special gift to be an oncology nurse. You are all angels, each of you. No, really, you are. I want to thank Dr. Fairbanks and the radiation technicians, well, everyone that I came in contact with at Cancer Care Northwest in Lewiston. Such kind and caring people. I met a retired farmer who was coming down to Lewiston, as I was, for his treatment too. We got to be friends, chatting, waiting for our turn. My last day of treatment, I will not forget the bear hug he gave me. I hope he's doing okay. I pray he's doing okay. The Light a Candle program through Gritman is such a valuable program. They were there for me. They helped me navigate as I entered a completely unfamiliar world. Showed me so many options on how to deal with cancer. Wigs, hats, breast forms, just stuff I knew nothing about. I was overwhelmed, and they guided me through that maze with kindness. Light a Candle also provided me with a gas card, which was so helpful, as well as massages. It all made such a difference for me. There's also a local program called the Northwest Cancer Foundation for Hope for Latah and Whitman counties that gave me financial support to use however I needed it. It helped pay for my specialized surgery. I want to leave you with one more quote from the grab bag. This is an excerpt from On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous by the American poet and essayist Ocean Vuong. Sometimes when I'm careless, I think survival is easy. You just keep moving forward with what you have or what's left of what you were given until something changes or you realize at last that you can change without disappearing. That all you had to do was wait until the storm passes you over. And you find that, yes, your name is still attached to a living thing. On February of 2025, I will be a year out from my having my last cancer treatment. I can tell you then that I can call myself a cancer survivor. Thank you for your patience and kindness for letting me speak to you today. It's an honor. Peace.
Thank you, Sharon. Wow, this has been a powerful and moving program. Please join me in one more round of applause for our amazing speakers. As you heard from our speakers today, these are valuable programs and services that provide important and vital assistance at the time when people receiving that assistance need it the most. These programs exist because of the forethought and determination of visionary leaders throughout our state and in our community. Now is the time of the event where I will ask you for your support. The Gritman Foundation and our programs would not exist if it were not for the generous philanthropic support of everyone in this room. And just so you know, this is the part my son asked me to sing, so I can barely say it, let alone sing it, so philanthropic support. If you have not already done so, I'm asking you to fill out the donation card at your table and insert it in the envelopes. The ushers will be making their way around the room here shortly to pick up these envelopes as we conclude our program. It's through your donations today that we'll be able to build upon the support of those visionaries who came before us to serve our friends and neighbors for generations to come. Thank you for coming today. This concludes our program, but please stay and enjoy the company of the people in this room. We look forward to seeing you again soon.